Stop right now. You're losing money every single day and you don't even realize it. It's not the market. It's not the economy. It's what you're buying. There are 7 things quietly draining your future. And if you don't cut them off today, they will cost you years of financial freedom. Look around you. The car you drive, the subscriptions you forgot about, the impulse buys that felt good for 5 minutes. This is how wealth disappears. Not in one big mistake, but in small, repeated decisions. And here's the truth no one tells you. Most people aren't broke because they don't earn enough. They're broke because they spend like they already made it. Before we go further, hit like and subscribe, because what you're about to hear could change how you handle money forever. Lifestyle inflation is one of the most dangerous financial patterns because it disguises itself as success. The moment your income increases, your spending quietly rises to match it. A raise turns into a better apartment, a newer car, more expensive habits, and frequent upgrades that feel earned. The problem is that these changes don't build wealth. They expand your cost of living. What should have created financial breathing room instead creates new pressure. The real danger is how automatic it becomes. You don't consciously decide to spend more, it just happens as your standards shift. What once felt like a luxury quickly becomes your new normal. This makes it nearly impossible to feel ahead, no matter how much more you earn. Instead of gaining control, you stay stuck in a cycle where income and expenses grow together, leaving no meaningful gap for savings or investments. Over time, this erodes financial flexibility. Higher expenses mean higher dependence on your current income. If anything disrupts that income, the lifestyle you built becomes a burden. You're no longer working to build freedom. You're working to maintain commitments. This creates stress and limits your ability to take risks or seize opportunities. The key issue is that lifestyle inflation delays long-term wealth by prioritizing short-term comfort. The more you upgrade your life without increasing your financial cushion, the harder it becomes to break the cycle. True financial progress comes from maintaining discipline as income grows, allowing the difference to compound into something meaningful. Buying status items is one of the most expensive financial mistakes because it's driven by perception, not value. These are purchases made to impress others, luxury clothes, high-end gadgets, flashy cars, not because they improve your life in a meaningful way, but because they signal success. The problem is that this type of spending delivers temporary validation while creating long-term financial drag. The psychology behind it is powerful. People naturally compare themselves to others, and in a world driven by social media and constant exposure, the pressure to look successful is stronger than ever. You see curated lifestyles and assume that matching that image means you're doing well, but most of the time, those signals are misleading. Many people finance their image, not their future. Status items rarely hold value. The moment you buy them, they begin to depreciate or lose relevance. Trends change, new models are released, and what once felt exclusive becomes outdated. Unlike assets, these purchases don't generate income or appreciate over time. They simply consume cash that could have been used to build something lasting. Over time, this creates a dangerous imbalance. You allocate more money toward appearances than toward financial growth. Instead of investing in opportunities, you invest in impressions. This slows down wealth accumulation and keeps you dependent on continuous income to maintain that image. The deeper issue is that status spending shifts your focus outward. Instead of building real security, you chase external approval. That approval is temporary, but the financial impact is long-lasting. High-interest debt is one of the fastest ways to lose control of your finances because it works against you every single day. Credit cards, buy now, pay later plans, and personal loans make spending feel easy in the moment, but they come with a hidden cost that compounds over time. What starts as a small balance quickly grows into something much larger due to interest, turning everyday purchases into long-term financial burdens. The danger is how normal it has become. Swiping a card or splitting payments into smaller chunks removes the immediate pain of spending, making it easier to justify buying things you don't actually need. But interest doesn't forget. A 20% or higher rate means you're paying significantly more than the original price, often for items that have already lost their value. You're not just spending money, you're paying extra for the privilege of spending it early. This creates a cycle that's hard to escape. As balances grow, minimum payments increase, and more of your income gets tied up servicing debt instead of building wealth. You're effectively working to pay for your past decisions, which limits your ability to move forward. Even worse, high-interest debt compounds in reverse. While investments grow your money, debt multiplies what you owe. Over time, this pressure builds silently. It reduces financial flexibility, increases stress, and delays any real progress. Instead of your money working for you, it's working for lenders, quietly draining your future potential. Overpriced cars and other depreciating purchases are some of the most common ways people tie up large amounts of money in assets that lose value almost immediately. The moment you drive a new car off the lot, its value drops, sometimes by thousands of dollars, within minutes. From that point on, depreciation continues year after year while you're still making full payments as if the asset is holding its worth. What makes this especially dangerous is how these purchases are justified. People often associate a nicer car with success, reliability, or personal reward. It feels like a milestone, but financially it creates a mismatch between cost and value. You're committing a significant portion of your income to something that doesn't produce returns, doesn't grow, and steadily declines in worth. On top of depreciation, there are ongoing costs that compound the impact. Insurance is higher, maintenance becomes more expensive, and financing adds interest on top of an already overpriced purchase. When you combine all of these factors, the true cost of ownership becomes much greater than the sticker price. What seemed like a manageable monthly payment turns into a long-term drain on your finances. This kind of spending limits your ability to allocate money toward assets that could actually build wealth. Instead of investing or saving, you're locking your cash into something that continuously loses value. Over time, this slows down financial progress and keeps you focused on maintaining a liability rather than building financial strength. Subscription overload is one of the easiest ways money slips away unnoticed because each individual charge feels small and harmless. A few dollars for streaming, another for music, cloud storage, apps, memberships, and premium services. It doesn't seem like much in isolation. But when these recurring payments stack up month after month, they quietly turn into a significant expense that drains your cash flow without delivering proportional value. The real issue is how invisible these costs become. Once a subscription is set up, it runs in the background. You stop thinking about it even if you rarely use the service. Companies rely on this behavior, designing billing systems that are automatic and easy to forget but harder to cancel. Over time, you end up paying for things you don't need, don't use, or don't even remember signing up for. This creates a constant leak in your finances. Unlike one-time purchases, subscriptions never stop unless you actively cancel them. They reduce the amount of money available for saving or investing, and because they feel small, they rarely trigger concern. But when you add them together over a year, the total can be surprisingly large, money that could have been redirected towards something more meaningful. The deeper problem is that subscription overload builds a habit of passive spending. You're no longer making intentional decisions about where your money goes. Instead, your income is automatically allocated before you even see it. That loss of control makes it harder to build discipline and slows down your ability to create long-term financial progress. Emotional spending during periods of fear or uncertainty is one of the most damaging financial habits because it bypasses logic and replaces it with reaction. When people feel anxious about the economy, inflation, or potential crises, they often respond by making impulsive decisions, either spending excessively for comfort or panic buying to feel a sense of control. In both cases, the decisions are driven by emotion rather than long-term thinking. The danger lies in how justified it feels in the moment. Buying something expensive can feel like a reward during stress, while stockpiling goods or making sudden financial moves can feel like preparation. But these actions rarely solve the underlying problem. Instead, they create new financial strain by redirecting money away from stability and into short-term relief. Fear also leads to poor timing. People tend to overspend when prices are high or make rushed decisions without proper evaluation. This can include buying assets at inflated prices, overreacting to news, or making purchases they wouldn't consider under normal circumstances. Emotional decisions ignore fundamentals and focus only on immediate feelings. Over time, this pattern weakens financial discipline. Instead of following a clear plan, money is spent based on mood and external events. This unpredictability makes it harder to build consistency, which is essential for long-term growth. The more frequently emotions dictate spending, the less control you have over your financial direction, and the easier it becomes to repeat costly mistakes. Ignoring long-term investments for short-term comfort is one of the most costly trade-offs people make because the consequences aren't immediate, but they compound over time. It often starts with small decisions. Choosing to spend extra money today instead of investing it, delaying contributions, or convincing yourself that you'll start later when you have more. In the moment, it feels harmless, even reasonable. But what you're really giving up is time, and time is the most powerful factor in building wealth. The impact isn't just about how much you invest, but when you start. Money invested earlier has more time to grow. benefiting from compounding returns that accelerate over years. When you delay, you're not just missing one contribution, you're missing the growth that contribution could have generated. This creates a gap that becomes increasingly difficult to close later, even with higher income or larger investments. Short-term comfort is appealing because it delivers immediate satisfaction. Whether it's dining out more often, upgrading your lifestyle, or avoiding the discipline of saving, it feels rewarding now. But those choices come at the cost of future security. You're prioritizing temporary ease over long-term independence. Over time, this habit creates a pattern where investing always feels like something you'll do later. That later keeps moving, and opportunities are lost along the way. Instead of building momentum, you remain in a cycle of consumption where your income supports your present but does little to secure your future. Blindly following trends instead of practicing financial discipline is one of the fastest ways to make poor money decisions because it replaces independent thinking with crowd behavior. Trends create a sense of urgency and excitement, making it feel like you need to act quickly or risk missing out. Whether it's a hot investment, a popular product, or a viral lifestyle upgrade, the pressure to keep up can override rational judgment. The problem is that trends are often driven by hype rather than value. By the time something becomes widely popular, early adopters have already benefited, and late participants are left buying at inflated prices or committing to ideas that may not last. This creates a cycle where you're constantly reacting instead of planning, moving from one trend to another without a clear strategy. Following the crowd also reduces accountability. When everyone else is doing the same thing, it feels safer, even if the decision is flawed. But financial outcomes are personal. Losses, wasted spending, and missed opportunities affect you directly, regardless of how many others made the same mistake. Trends don't consider your goals, your income, or your long-term plans. Over time, this habit weakens discipline. Instead of building consistent, intentional behaviors, your decisions become influenced by external noise. This makes it harder to stay focused on strategies that actually build wealth, because those strategies often require patience and consistency rather than quick reactions. The more you rely on trends, the less control you have over your financial direction. At the end of the day, building wealth isn't about chasing more. It's about controlling what you already have. Most people don't fall behind because of one big mistake. They fall behind because of small, repeated decisions that slowly drain their future. The things you buy, the habits you tolerate, and the discipline you ignore determine where you end up financially. Every dollar you spend is a choice between comfort today and freedom tomorrow. When you consistently choose things that don't grow, don't last, and don't add real value, you're trading away your future without realizing it. The gap between those who build wealth and those who stay stuck isn't luck or income, it's behavior. If you want to move forward, you don't need a complex strategy. You need awareness and control. Cut the habits that are working against you. Stop spending to impress, to cope, or to follow the crowd. Start making decisions that align with where you actually want to be. Because in the end, wealth isn't built by what you earn. It's built by what you keep, what you grow, and what you refuse to waste.